Hi everybody, welcome to another top 5 albums of the week. There's been quite a lot of stuff I wanted to talk about, at least not a lot, but the stuff that's out from a lot of bands I have followed and honestly have been intrigued to listen to. So I haven't got like a massive amount, but I've got a few honorable mentions before we get into the top 5. And let's see what we've got. So I want to talk about the Haken In a Fever Dream EP. So this isn't an album, so that's why it wouldn't be in the top 5, because I want to, preferably, it's harder to put an EP with an album in the top 5. There's almost no contest half the time because an EP is very short. It can be a solid one, I mean, they exist, but I don't know. That's just the way I've always formatted it. So Haken's new EP is kind of disappointing, to be honest. It's not an awful listen, but for Haken, it just doesn't really feel like what many people want to get out of the band. The band's always known for their odd time signatures, a lot of fun variety. Every single moment on a Haken track is supposed to be weird and chaotic, with Ross's vocals being a nice layer to it. But after the band had two members leave, and I think that's the drummer and the guitarist, I'll edit it on top if that's not correct, but yeah, after they left, there's been kind of a big change, and it's not been the best direction for a change, because the band's now lost some of their most key components to their sound, and we're not really getting anything that feels like what we've witnessed with Haken's development. Instead, the EP kind of reminds me of if you wanted to make a more prog rock with a bit of prog metal structure on something more accessible. It kind of has more of a Bad Omen, Sleep Token sort of feel to it. Not 100% sure if it's because of the R&B, but the way it just kind of has these guitars that just feel a lot less versatile, a lot less creative. It doesn't really reel me in for this EP, and I think the title track, In a Fever Dream, definitely got me interested in this new direction, but as a whole I find this EP to be quite weak, and probably the worst release Haken have done. But as it's kind of just an extended play rather than an album, it's probably just to experiment to see what to do next, and if the result doesn't quite work, or or they're just experimenting to see if it works or not, I don't think this is going to be the main direction Haken want to take. But yeah, I just didn't think this EP was that good, to be honest. As it is with their self-titled album, it's fine. I don't think this one really popped out to me too much for a pop punk record. It does the job, but I don't know. I just never found anything that great with it. It just kind of feels more standard. Like, maybe it's just because I haven't clicked with As It Is, but this isn't quite my cup of tea necessarily, or at least anything that feels very refreshing for the genre. It's just kind of another pop punky sort of record with some decent stuff, but not really big on it. And the last honorable mention, it did make it into the top 5, which I actually was surprised by, was the new one by Motionless and White, Decades. I am completely shocked, but this album wasn't really that good in my opinion. I think the problem with Decades is Chris wanted to lean more into the kind of 80s synth wave, so he can build this industrial synthy combination, because he liked how it sounded with Werewolf. We've also had Voices with the synthwave version, and it kind of felt like, yeah, I can definitely see that being the case, but now they've actually dabbled in it just kind of as part of their aesthetic. I don't know, I didn't really find this one to be as exciting of a listen. The singles have actually been not too bad. I think Afraid of the Dark is pretty damn solid. I quite like that one a lot. Playing God featuring Corey Taylor is pretty good as well. Rest in Peace, Skylar Grey, that one featured. That one wasn't too bad. It was a softer track, but I don't mind them all. Then the rest of the album, it starts off decently strong. Decades is a nice opening track, and I do feel like the second track also is quite solid. But after it gets to Fight Like Hell, it just loses its interest, its appeal to me, in my opinion. Fight Like Hell just kind of reminds me of Chris doing a Fred Durst impression at some point in the song. And as we get to songs like Blood Rave or Love at First Bite and so on, and even Sunglasses at Night, you can kind of see this album wants to be more of a synth-wavy alt metal record, but it ends up just coming off as a very tacky decision onto the metalcore sound. Maybe I'm being a buzzkill, but I absolutely love Scorn Into the Earth and End of the World rather. It's my favourite album of 2022, and Werewolf had that synthwave feel to it, and it was entirely synthwave, but it was so unique and cool for the album that Werewolf was one of my favourite tracks because of it. But now I feel like the heavier stuff, like a Slaughterhouse inspired like song, would actually be the rare thing, and that's shocking because this is a metal band and the metal is kind of becoming less prominent with the band, especially with how edgy and, let's be real, kind of goofy the new album art is. I don't know, Decades is just kind of like that first point where I think the band has started to tip a bit, but I'm not saying that this is the big downfall. I just feel like compared to everything else the band has done, I think this is easily the weakest. It has the least amount of highs, not really many songs I'm a big fan of, unfortunately. So yeah, honestly I was quite disappointed because Motionless and White are absolutely one of my favourite metal groups I've seen live, so I don't know, maybe the next one will be stronger, I hope. So now we go into the top 5, let's go into this. Number 5 we have Quicksand, Bring On The Sidekicks. I had to retake that because I said physics. It just feels like Bring On The Physics makes more sense than Sidekicks, but whatever. Quicksand, the only reason I've really heard of them was because Sergio Vega, who used to be basically the bassist that took out after Chi Cheng from Deftones after his passing, an accident he had. Sergio's been a core part of the Deftones sound from Diamond Eyes all the way to Ohms, but then got kicked out of the band because he didn't like the fact that he signed a deal with he wasn't a permanent member, and wished he was, because he just felt like this whole time he was never treated as an official member, and the band just kind of kept him on just to just to pay him less because of it. I don't know, there's a lot of like Deftone politics there. I just don't really care much about it. It's just such an old thing, and I'm really interested. But Quicksand, I haven't really listened to them, so this is actually one of the newer sounds to me. I think the post-hardcore old metal sound of this isn't too bad. I think there's some fun riffs, I think there's some fun energy, but as a whole I think the album is kind of more of a one-note experience. There's a few songs that do some interesting stuff, but a lot of it just kind of feels like it's the kind of tame experience of what you could expect from this band. I can see that this is just kind of a standard sound for the band from what I've listened to. Not bad, but not one I'm that crazy on either. Number 4 we have Yard Act, You're Gonna Need a Little Music. I really enjoyed Where's My Utopia. I feel like The Overload's a good record, a good debut, and Where's My Utopia, it's so different with that dance punk feel, but it manages to bring in some really fun elements to it. I like the kind of tamer aspect to some of the songs. Some of the songs have this kind of streetsy feel. I think the variety that Where's My Utopia gave made me really appreciate the album, because it's so versatile and every song is so distinctive. Here we just kind of have a lot of songs that blend into this more gothic rock blend with post-punk, not really much dance punk at all. Yard Act here, definitely I was intrigued because I didn't really feel Redeemers was that strong, to be honest. And going into this record, there are some pretty strong stuff. Forever Chaos is definitely a highlight. I just love the kind of louder aspect to it. I kind of wish we had more moments like that. It was quite fun. A little burst of energy, I think, is what this needed, because a lot of the songs just kind of felt a little bit familiar to me. But the more I've gone into this record, I have appreciated what Yard Act's going for. It might be the weakest attempt so far in terms of the record, but I still think it's got some solid moments. I just don't think it really hits the consistency of the first two, though, not by a decent shot. Number 3 we have Loathe, A Stranger to You. I was anticipating this to be the first, so the fact that there's 2 that beat it shows that we're really diving into the meat of this week. Loathe here, they don't quite have the I let it in and took everything sort of talent to this one. I'm not saying there's talent, but I mean in terms of how that album was just downright one of the most influential and one of the most creative metalcore records ever. Although you can kind of say it's not really much metalcore, as it is more progressive, it's more alternative. You can definitely see that it draws inspiration from bands like Deftones, but redefines itself to make a really fun, unique take onto it. And I think the variety the album had was gorgeous. A Stranger to You does have a good variety, but a lot of it is tamer. I feel like what I've noticed is the album has a lot more calmer moments, a lot more softer tracks, but it also still does have some energetic, loud stuff. I mean, Gifted Every Strength is probably still the monster of the record, and this was a really good lead single for it. The other singles as well, Revenant, that one's quite angry and fun, and Fangs I think is definitely one of the standout ones, so all the singles have been great. The Every song on the record has been pretty good. I think the only reason I draw this one down a little bit lower, I know that Loathe kind of has this like mixing style where the drums and it sounds like the bass kind of muddy into this, kind of makes it try and sound like it's more one note and just one sort of instrumental rather than two. Sometimes I've noticed it even with Gifted Every Strength, and I don't think there's too much of a problem, but it does kind of become a bit noticeable and does kind of take away a little bit from the potential of some of the songs being even stronger than they are. But I still think it's still got a lot of good stuff on it. I wouldn't skip anything personally. It's another fun record, just not quite as big on it as their second record, but and even I'd say the first record as well might be a little bit stronger, but Loathe have shown that they can be consistent with this normal sound of theirs, so I'm glad that they have got some fresh ideas, and it's nice to see Loathe expand upon what they could do. I think the softer aspect does work quite well in their favour, but I can definitely see some people thinking, oh god, this is just them trying to make a standard Deftones album in their own flavour and own way. But I mean, like, alternative metal and shoegaze has been quite a popular thing for a while, and Loathe I think is actually one of the big inspirations for it. I mean, they've inspired bands like Thornhill to kind of go this direction, so you never know really. Number 2 we have Protest the Hero Within. I was really shocked by this one. I like Protest the Hero, and while this album is a bit short because there might be something else coming soon, as not necessarily hinted at, but potentially indirectly hinted maybe about a potential double album. So the reason this one's shorter is we might be getting another album called Without, because you have Above and Below and then Within and Without, so yeah, it might be a second album coming. And the fact that also that the artwork, which they actually did a time lapse on painting it, they showed the artist painting it, and it makes me really appreciate how much effort Protest the Hero go into, because they are definitely anti-AI, and that makes me happy, because in a world where there's just so much AI art, it's nice to see a fully beautiful painted artwork, literally painted by hand, not digital, used for this. And the fact that the artist painted another side of it, so we only get to see one side, and the fact that they are not denying the fact there's another record coming. Yeah, I'm really excited for the Without, because the material Within is bloody good. It's 6 songs with 2 interludes, but the 6 songs are fantastic. The variety is great, and I think the energy they bring, yeah, especially Mouth Hooks, that's one of my favourites on there. Fish Hooks, I think the song is. My mind is just baffled today from the heat. But yeah, this album is looking to be really sick, or the double album is. And Protest the Hero, yeah, I'm not surprised. This is a high quality band that has just been really, really sharp with a lot of their ideas. I've enjoyed their kind of earlier stuff as well. Some tracks like Blood Meat have always stood out to me, but there's a lot of stuff I really enjoy on this. And now we're going to go into number 1. The best album of the week in my opinion. This might be a lot of people's as well, because this is a monster of a record. Boundaries, Yearning, the Unbeautiful After. From the lead single, Skies Cast Over Black, I have enjoyed it, but I do feel like it's got a bit of a weird kind of mix to it, and I think the whole album does, but I feel like in terms of the aggression of it, it does kind of work in the long run. I think it's just because it was a standalone song. Comparing it to how loud and distorted it can sound on the last record, Death is Little More, which is a bloody great record, mind you. I think it was definitely top 10 album. If it wasn't in my top 10, I was really surprised, but yeah, it was one of my favourite albums of 2024. It was just so good. And then you've got this album, which I say is either on the same tier or slightly below, but I still really enjoy how ambitious this record is. It's just got a lot of menacing anger to it, but they managed to build some really fun guitar work, great breakdowns that generally make deathcore look so tame in comparison. And I mean, metalcore with these like type of breakdowns literally give deathcore that kind of run for its money for sure. And then the choruses as well, they just stand out really well. The only thing I'd say that takes it away, this album, from being any better than it is the fact that some of it does come off as a bit of a chug fest. There's a lot of chuggy riffs that I guess this can kind of annoy some people, because a lot of it is trying, what is the heaviest, like, chuggiest riff we can do? Let's chug it out, and that's kind of some of the moments on this record. And another one, well, I guess the mixing could be a little bit better, but I still think it works for what it is here. The other issue, I guess, is some songs might blend with each other. The angrier the song, I've noticed that sometimes it will blend. The Leper's Bell, or the Leper's Bell, but I will say that the moment in 1 minute is one of the highlights of the record. The singles have been great, and the rest of the record follows really well. The features are also a nice addition, and Boundaries, I think, I don't think it's my favourite album of the year, but I am going to say it's in my top 5 this year. It's really good, so it's a nice contestment of it could be my favourite, but we'll have to see. So yeah, Boundaries, yeah, that's my favourite album this week, and I hope you enjoy. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next week for another top 5 albums of the week. So thank you.